Okay, let's start with a little warm up. Just some rotations, heels planted on the ground. Balls of the feet. Feeling the balls of the feet from the inside to the outside, lightly on the ground, the toes relaxed. And just let the body swing from one side to the other, feeling the rotation come from the feet on up. That little bounciness at the end ranges. We're going to do a lot with the feet today. Okay, so let's do a couple shoulder rolls. All right, let's start with some feet stretches. So if you put the weight into your left foot, mostly in the way of the heel, sorry, and then lightly in the front of the foot, we're going to step back and stretch the top of the back foot. If you tend to get a little bit of a crampiness in there, just go into it real slow. And trying to keep the hips fairly level as you do this as well. Soft supporting knee. If you want to turn it into a bit of a balance. Starting to get a little cramp in my foot. If you get a cramp in your foot, turn and stretch the bottom of your foot by tucking your toes under so you feel the ball of your foot from one side to the other. Try not to actively press the toes into the ground. Just let them be passively stretched. Okay, and then we'll go back to top of the foot. And just switch back and forth for a minute or two. Maybe stopping where you feel like you need a little bit more stretch. The longer I hold the top of the foot stretch, the more I feel it pulling across the front of my ankle. And if you feel like you want a little bit more challenge, you can step back a little bit further. Okay, let's go to the other foot. And I just realized I forgot to set my timer. So let's start with the toes under. That might stretch out the bottom of our foot enough so that we don't get crampy, or I don't get crampy when we do the top of the foot stretch. Okay, it is. Okay, and then switch back and forth. Try to hold your stretches for 3 to 6 nice breaths. So you start to get into those deeper layers. We'll just switch back and forth for a couple more minutes. So I know I say it a lot, how important the feet and the ankles are relative to our balance. It is so true. And preventing injury. Okay, let's march that out a little bit. Maybe you want to rotate the ankles just a little bit. Okay, so let's bring the feet underneath the hips, and then we'll roll onto the outside of the feet. And as you do that, you might have a tendency to want to come forward. Try to keep your body upright. We'll just hold out there for a few breaths. So having mobility in your ankles can also help catch you if you do take a misstep and you trip a little bit. You never know quite how your feet are going to land, depending on how quickly you have to move to catch yourself. And so having that mobility can allow you to catch yourself in lots of different positions. And the better your ankles and feet can do that for you. Now let's roll inward. Again, try not to let your body come forward. Breathe with your belly. Keep your shoulders relaxed. Just notice if you're creating tension anywhere else in your body in order to do these movements. Try to notice and let it go. Okay, let's go back to the outside. And back to the inside. If anything's painful, just go to whatever range of motion you can that is not painful and hang out there. Maybe your body will let go. Okay, one more time on the outside if you want to take a little bit of a wider stance. Just we'll pull a little bit differently into your ankles. And then rotate inward. Okay, let's come back on to our feet. And let's go into our rotations again, but this time we'll let the heel come up and let the foot rotate. So try not to press the toes into the ground. If anything, the ball of the foot from one side to the other is touching the ground. Gently pressing in to help maintain stability. Okay, all right, let's come back to our feet underneath our hips. And then we'll just focus on lifting just the two big toes off the ground, keeping the other toes lightly on the ground. Try not to feel them pushing really hard into the ground in order to help you lift the big toes. If you can't lift them very far, that's okay. If you need to do just one toe at a time, that is okay as well. Relax the rest of your body. When I'm teaching in person, I often see people making weird movements in their arms and their upper body and their face even to try and get that motion to happen. That's a real indication of a disconnect between the brain and the feet, the motion that you're trying to do. Okay, then let's let the big toes relax and see if you can lift the small toes up off the ground. You can only do one side at a time. That's okay. Just do whatever you can do. Okay, now see if you can go back and forth. Alternate the big toes up and then the little toes up. And then see if you can spread the toes and then pull them in towards each other. So you can spread the fingers at the same time if that helps, and then pull the fingers and the toes in towards each other. And if these motions are really hard, if you can get little toe stretchers, little spacers between your toes, sometimes that helps to stretch them out a little bit and you can start to reconnect. You can also just weave a long sock in between your toes. Sounds like a silly thing to do, but your feet are pretty important. Okay, let's relax the toes. Then if you want to find a block, if you don't have a block, a ball or a Kleenex box would do the trick too. So let's put whatever you have between your calves above your ankles, and we'll go through and do some lifts. So thinking about the weight in the heels, then slowly transferring that weight to the balls of the feet, toes relax until you need them, and then lift. Rest of the body stays as relaxed as possible, and then slow and controlled, come back down. So strengthening the feet in this way also helps us catch ourselves if we have that misstep. Okay, just up and down. As you come up on the ball of the foot, I want you to focus on feeling the inside to the outside so that you're not putting too much weight through any one joint of the foot. And you don't think about squeezing whatever's between your calves, just think about holding it in place. Whoop, as gentle as possible, as firmly as necessary. And just up and down. And if you want to come up and try to hold it for a breath or two, maybe you just want to count how many you can do. That really engages the along the IT band, more on the hamstring side for me. Ooh, all the way down into the calves. Okay, all right, let's let this block go. Okay, let's just do a little stretch. I feel like I need that through the calf. And then let's do the other side. Okay, then let's come back with our feet underneath the hip bones, toes pointing straight forward. And then we'll go slowly transferring the weight forward into the ball of the foot, toes as relaxed as possible, lifting the heels up, body relaxed, up as high as you can, ankles as stable as you can make them, and slowly back down, bring the weight back into the heels, soften your body, bring it back forward, lift it on up. Slowly back down, nice and controlled. Okay, forward into the balls of the feet. Okay, lifting as far as feels comfortable, doesn't have to be super far. Hold it for a few breaths. And slowly back down. Okay, let's do one more. Let's get the arms involved. Okay, so we'll come up onto the balls of the feet. That feels stable to you. Let's bring the arms straight up, making yourself as long as possible. You'll notice when you start to lose your balance, that's when the toes come in. But if they're already super tight and they're gripping the floor, they can't help you that way. Okay, let's do some ankle mobilization down on the mat. So you may want your blocks. Okay, so we'll put our front knee in a 90 position and then pull it back just a little bit. Blocks can walk forward. And then let's start by keeping that heel on the ground. and the back leg. If you need more work on stretching the ankle in this direction, work on stretching the ankle and feeling that front part of your ankle on the mat. So if you're kind of stuck in this, press that down, front heel down. Relax your shoulders. Think about pressing the front heel into the floor. Think about pressing the top of the ankle into the floor. If you are nice and flush with the floor like I am, then maybe better to work on tucking the toes under. And then now let's let that front heel come off the ground. So we're really letting compression come into the knee and the front ankle. You can move your blocks wherever they feel helpful. Gets a really nice hip flexor stretch. So we're also working on some hip extension, which is always good. And then let's move this back. Press with the arms to pull yourself back. Okay, we'll take the other leg forward about 90 degrees, and then we're gonna pull it back just a little bit. Keep that heel on the ground at first. See how far your body will go, and then the back, you decide you want the front of the ankle down or tuck the toes. Maybe if you need both, then do a little bit of both. You are this way with the front of the ankle down, then just gently press that. You even try to lift the bottom of the foot toward the ceiling as you press down. Oh, that just gave me a little bit of a calf cramp. Just go slow. Keep pressing that front heel into the ground just a little bit longer. Now let's let that front heel come off the ground and really compress into the ankle. And let's push ourselves back. And let's come into a kneeling position. If you can't quite get into this position, tuck some pillows either under here to help your knees or under here to make it not quite so stressful on your ankles. And we'll just do a little, while we're stretching our ankles, we'll just do a little stretching of our side body. So try to keep your hips exactly level. So you should feel a little bit of pressure in both hips into your heels. Just take a few breaths here. You want to rotate a little up toward the ceiling and a little toward the ground. Some gentle rotations. Finding the end range. And we'll go to the other side. So over. Again, trying to feel, if you're reaching over with your right arm, still feeling a little pressure in the right hip, down into the right heel. So then we'll add, if you'd like, add a little rotating up, a little bit down. you feel particularly sticky in one of those directions, maybe you want to hold that a little bit. Okay, we have a couple blocks. We'll use blocks, or if you have a step stool handy, you might want to grab a step stool. We're going to tuck the blocks underneath our sit bone, and you can have them long way, or you can go this way as well if that feels better to you. And then we're going to bring our feet forward. So we're going to stretch the calves, but with the knees bent. So if you're way out here, first thing, try to bring your spine into good alignment. If you need to hold on to your knees or push into the floor, go ahead and do that. And then slowly pulling your feet back underneath you. And then if you can get your feet back close to you, if that feels like there's a lot of tension in your ankles or your knees or your hips, then just hang out there. If that feels pretty good, you can start leaning in. And this is our preparatory for the squat position. So really trying to keep that low back curve in place, trying to keep the heels on the ground, getting that compression. And if you're doing really great with all that, then maybe think about tucking your elbows in between your knees and stretching through your hips as well. So shoulders down away from the ears, lifting the top of the head up. And whatever your position is you're in, that is where you're at, and just nudging into those end ranges consistently over time is what helps make change in your fascia, and then that makes changes in your joints. Couple more breaths here, well, then we'll let that go. Okay, now same position, but we'll come up on the balls of the feet. And see if you can bring the weight forward until you feel pressure in the balls of the feet. What I'd like you to practice is keeping your toes really soft. And feeling the sensation of the balls of your feet from the inside to the outside of your feet. And face, neck, shoulders relaxed. Just hold this for another minute or so. Anytime you feel like you need to come out, or maybe you feel like you want to put your heels down, put your heels down. Okay, and then we'll come up from here. If you want to choose a different method of getting up, if you can come up from your squat, yay. All right, let's go back and redo some of our rotations. Let's let the heels stick to the ground first. Just see how that feels. Then let the heels come off the ground. We didn't get a lot of love for our upper body in this, but I wanted to have an option for people to focus a lot on the feet and the ankles. It's so important for perception and balance and safety. Let's swing the arms. Okay, and then we don't have a strap with us. I think mine's in my basket, perhaps. Let's do some big rotations, shoulders down away from the ears. Back to our cars. Controlled articular rotations. Forward and backward. Try not to let the ribs pop forward as you go back. What I mean by that is this kind of thing. Just keeping the ribs down, lets the focus be on the shoulders. Okay. Little shoulder rotations, forward and back. Maybe a little side to side. Let the neck touch down, look up. Ear to shoulder. Definitely need work there. Okay, that was some good stuff. I can definitely feel in my ankles and my calves that they just got a little bit of a workout. So hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Namaste.